Thank you. I started playing Minesweeper around 2020 by an accident, essentially. I was hovering around the Twitch and I saw one streamer playing it, and I was amazed by how were they beating Minesweeper so fast. Before this, my knowledge of Minesweeper was very much limited. All that I knew was there are numbers, there are mines, and don't lose. That's it. After that stream that I watched, I decided to find some form of speedrunning rankings for that, and I came across a site called minesweeper.info, which had those really old site graphics. It had like Windows XP nostalgia all over it. That in a way attracted me even more to it. Found some sort of official version for the speedrunning rankings for it. I downloaded it and started playing it, and it was actually a lot of fun. Before this, I was speedrunning a lot of games, so competing was already a little bit in my blood, but I didn't know what I was getting really into. I quickly found a community on Twitch of people that also were pretty fast, and I started peeking in more Twitch channels. I got to know more people, and I kept hearing about this one name over and over and over. That person was the current ranking leader on the Minesweeper Info rankings that I've mentioned, Kamil Morański. This person had scored so much ahead of others that it was just unbelievable to me. Everybody was just crammed in this one space, and there was him just above everybody. I thought to myself how hard it could be to beat him. When you start speedrunning a game, you don't know the limitations of it yet. So when I jokingly said to some of the streamers that I'm gonna try to beat him, I was mostly met with jokes and yeah, sure, whatever. Mind you, he was for over 10 years at the top, with second place not even being close to him. But I kept playing, and my improvements at that time were actually really quick. I didn't go into it right away, let me tell you about this. I didn't decide to learn all of the patterns first. My brain was like, I'm just gonna learn what's the best way to just complete a section fast. Not necessarily complete it, but complete it fast. It didn't show at first, but long term, it kind of paid off once I'd finally learned the patterns. So like the first half a year of maybe even a year of me playing Minesweeper, I didn't really know all of the logic, which for a player today, well, it's very uncommon, let's say. I kept improving and improving, and I quickly figured it out that I am not the person to play the expert mode, which is the biggest one out of the three, mainly because it's just really long and I didn't really bother playing it. But instead of that, I really focused on practicing beginner and intermediate. So at the beginning, there's a big discrepancy between my intermediate and expert times. This told me how to play really fast on small sections, especially on beginner. I could practice small patterns and how to approach them really quickly. That's where 3BVS comes in. In Minesweeper, there are essentially three main categories as of today that players like to compete in. There is of course time, that is self-explanatory. There is no flag time, which is like a subcategory, which is just playing Minesweeper without using flags. There is IOE, which is efficiency essentially, so the art of completing a Minesweeper board with the least amount of clicks possible. Then there is 3BVS. But first, let's explain what 3BV is. 3BV is the minimum amount of left clicks required to beat a game. Okay, I don't want to give you too much information right now, but essentially there are ways to take less clicks to completing a board, which is efficiency, but what 3BV is just the left clicks, which if you think for a little bit, boards that have lower 3BV are faster to complete, and boards that have more 3BV take longer to complete. So of course the 3BVS is going to be the 3BV but per second. So the category revolves around trying to get as much 3BV per second as you can. So where am I going with this? So around a year or two into my Minesweeper journey, I started to realize that 3BVS was my strongest and best category. And at that time, Kamil actually had been dethroned by a Chinese kid called JZE or Zhe. And he got so far ahead, in order to beat him, you have to waste your life away just trying to grind for endless nights, which I'm obviously not going to do. But still, in my heart and everywhere else, my brain was telling me, I want to beat Kamil. I want to beat him. I want to prove to myself that no matter what happens, I want to achieve this goal. Because when I started, I've been told that this is so impossible to do that I am not going to be able to do it. So I grinded. And one day when I was playing with my friends, I achieved a beginner 3BVS score of 8, which at the time I believe was number 3 in Europe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that blew my mind away. But that made me realize that I am so close to beating Camille in some of 3BVS. Some is just beginner plus, intermediate plus, expert. I mean, I was like still a canyon away, but that got me closer. A month later, I got a bit better beginner, and then I started getting better intermediate scores, and everything just started to click. I hit my first top 30 rankings when I achieved my first ever SUP 9 on beginner. SUP meaning just above a number, so SUP 9 can be like 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, whatever. So yeah, I achieved the SUP 9 and it just cracked my brain hole open. Yeah, that was like top 2 Europe because I was behind Camille, but this was the closest score that I had that was just almost beating Camille, which motivated me even more to push. Seeing myself at number 18 in the world was like, wait a minute, maybe. Then I got 17, then I got 16, then I got 15, then I got 13. Thanks to just simply improving my beginner 3BVS. And I'll admit, during that time, I have probably spent more time grinding than I should have. But if you would ask me, how much time I have spent just grinding to get better, my total minesweeper playtime around now, I cannot get the estimates correctly or just fully, but it could be around 6 to 7,000 hours. Don't take my word for it, because there were days over those past 4+ years that I've been playing for like 12, 13 hours, maybe even more. But at some point when you start playing more minesweeper, you tend to realize that your performance just dies down after those, maybe even 5,000. I cannot really pinpoint since I've been playing across many platforms and my time, I just didn't sum up my time of play, and I don't count, you know? 2 months after becoming number 13, I achieved the second ever SUP 10, above 10 3BVS per second on beginner, beating Camille in one category, which was enough for me. That was enough for me to reach number 4. But little did I know, I wasn't close at all. And right now, I wasn't even nowhere near half of my journey. I was around, like, below 1 3BV per second away from Camille. How hard could it be? The answer is, it was. It simply was. I got knocked down to number 5 for a bit by a Chinese player named Zhai Shen, if I remember correctly. But then I got back with full force and just pushed myself to get that top 3, to just get that sweet top 3 place for the first time ever. After getting that 3, I didn't really get to improve that much actually. It wasn't that my progress was slowing, no. It was just that it was hard for me because expert was the only mode remaining, because I had a really good beginner score, I had a really good intermediate score, I just didn't have the expert one. So I had to finally, after all those years, learn expert, and I just couldn't really. After becoming number 3, like around half a year later, I got 4.4, jumping 0.33 BVS, leaving me 0.2 BVS behind Camille. And you might think, it's just a little bit of time. Over a year passed with no improvements whatsoever. And every day I had those small games where I was just finishing with few clicks remaining, or I was just very close to finishing a game. I had those games where if I just stayed calm, even waited a little bit, that would have been actually it. But I just couldn't do it. But then, finally, after 16 months, I finally got an improvement, getting a 4.58 3BVS per second. You might think that it was hard staying behind Camille, being 0.2 3BVS behind. After getting this personal best, I was 0.01 3BVS behind Camille. And just seeing how close I am was probably the biggest pain I have ever experienced in speedrunning. And it wasn't nice at all, let me tell you. Because at this point, I just wanted to get done with. I just wanted it to end. Because I was putting unnecessary hours on myself to just try to achieve this goal. I kept fighting and fighting, but I just couldn't squeeze out the last 3 BVS. But I kept looking back at this person, like how close I am to this person that has been reigning as the champion of Europe for almost 14 years now. This person that is just the biggest probably legend of this game. One night when I was just having this casual grind, as always, I was thinking to myself, I just want to stop playing this, and I want to finally get to do something else. I don't want to have to play this anymore, because when you're so close, you want to put even more effort into this. So I was thinking to myself that I just want to get this over with and just start doing something else. And with this, I have achieved my dream that haunted me for many days, many nights, and I achieved 4.85 through BVS on Expert. And I just sat there. I just sat there in a chair, happy on that I did it. I did something that people thought was impossible to do by a normal person. Here's the funny thing. Every single record or whatever that is below JCE, we just call KWR, which is Kamil World Record, which is beating Kamil or just being below JCE, because he's just so far ahead. So yeah, I have achieved my dream goal in Minesweeper, and I literally got what I wanted. It cost me a lot of time, it cost me a lot of thoughts, but was it worth it in the end? Yeah. Even if it's something I won't put on my job interview or whatever, there's this little thing that will keep me reminding that I can achieve some shit that many people thought it was impossible or just wasn't possible to do. Also, in the meanwhile, I skipped an entire chapter of another Chinese player beating Kamil in the meanwhile, but in the end I beat them both while getting my expert through BVS game, so yeah. I mean, it's also a win for the community that has known me since the beginning, and me screaming in like Twitch chat or whatever that I'm gonna beat Kamil, even if it was 4 years in the making. So thank you to all of the people that cheered me on and even said that I suck during the time I was setting my PBs. But I think it's time to do something else. I'm not saying that I want to quit Minesweeper. I'm still gonna play Minesweeper now, much less, because I'm just truly tired of having to grind Minesweeper over and over and over for the past year or so. I'm still gonna continue, of course, the infamous Minesweeper iceberg, but I'd like to lower the amount of Minesweeper on this channel. So consider this video as some form of interlude between the past and the future videos. And now a quick tip for anybody who will ever try to have a grind like this. Make sure that in some capacity you're having fun. Without having fun in this game, I would never try to put like 5,000 hours into Minesweeper. Was it worth it? Yes. Would I do it again? Not at this stage of my life, but yes. If I had to go back in time and do it all again, I would absolutely. So yeah, I did it. And it was and still is an amazing journey, and I just want to thank everybody for being here with me.